Scorpio. There is a certain depth in you that people sense before they ever understand, like standing at the edge of still water and feeling how much lives beneath the surface. You carry things quietly, layers of memory, emotion, and knowing that rarely find the right moment to be spoken, yet they shape the way you move through everything. There are moments when you feel it more strongly, that subtle weight in your chest, that awareness that something inside you has been shifting for a long time. Not in loud, obvious ways, but in slow, almost invisible changes, like something dissolving beneath the surface while the world continues as if nothing has changed. And somehow, you keep going, holding it all with a strength that feels both natural and heavy. Have you ever wondered why you feel everything so deeply, as if life speaks to you in a language others barely hear? Why the experiences you go through seem to leave marks that transform you from the inside out, even when no one else sees the process unfolding? There is a quiet pattern here, something more intentional than it first appears. Because what you have been living through carries the energy of transformation, not just experience. The silence you encountered, the pauses that stretched longer than expected, the moments where clarity felt just out of reach, all of it has been part of a deeper preparation. Something has been closing gently, layer by layer, making space for a new cycle that begins from within rather than from the outside. You may already feel it now, in small ways. A shift in what you tolerate, a shift in what you desire, a shift in how you see yourself when no one else is watching. It moves quietly, yet it changes everything. If you feel this shift quietly happening within you, take a moment to anchor it. I am ready for my new cycle, 777. Because what is beginning to open for you holds a different kind of energy, one that asks you to see your journey through a deeper lens, and that is where everything starts to become clear. There is a pattern in your life that only becomes clear when you step back far enough to see it whole. You move toward what feels intense, layered, alive with meaning, while others hesitate at the edge, unsure of what lies beneath. Somehow, you keep going, drawn not by curiosity alone, but by something deeper that recognizes truth in places others overlook. You notice it in the way certain moments stay with you long after they pass. A conversation, a silence, a glance that carries more than words. These things linger, unfolding inside you in ways that reshape how you see people, how you see yourself. Where others move on, you absorb, you process, you transform. It becomes clear over time, your path has never been about skimming the surface. You enter spaces where emotions are layered, where motives are hidden, where meaning exists beneath appearances. And while this depth can feel isolating at times, it also gives you a kind of awareness that cannot be taught, only lived. There is strength in the way you hold complexity without needing immediate resolution. You can sit with contradiction, with uncertainty, with emotions that evolve rather than settle. That space, though quiet, is where your power forms, slowly, steadily, shaping you from the inside out. You may begin to see how often you have been the one who carries what others leave behind, the one who senses what remains unspoken, the one who walks through endings and emerges with a different kind of understanding. This role has never been loud, yet it has always been significant. And as this awareness deepens, something else starts to take shape. A question about where all of this began and why your journey has unfolded through such specific, transformative experiences. It rarely arrived all at once. It came in moments, sharp, specific, almost ordinary at first. A shift in someone's tone, a door that closed without warning, a realization that something you trusted had quietly changed shape. You felt it immediately, even when no one named it out loud. There were times when things slipped away right as you were beginning to feel grounded. Connections that once felt certain started to thin. Situations you invested in began to unravel. and you found yourself standing in the space where something meaningful used to exist. That space, it stayed with you longer than expected, and each time something inside you responded. Not on the surface, but deeper, where questions begin to echo. Why this again? Why this way? The pattern repeated, not in identical form, but in feeling. A sense of being asked to release, to let something fall apart before it could fully settle. For a while, it could feel personal, as if life singled you out for intensity, for endings that carried more weight than others seemed to experience. The mind tries to organize it, to search for fairness, for logic. Yet what you were moving through belonged to a different kind of process. Because over time, something shifts. You begin to notice what each of those moments left behind. A sharper instinct, a deeper awareness, the ability to read what sits beneath words, beneath actions, beneath appearances. What once felt like disruption begins to reveal itself as initiation. Each loss, each change, each fracture in trust carved out space within you. Space that now holds clarity. You start to see how you no longer approach things the same way, how your perception has become more precise, more attuned to what is real and what only appears to be. If this part reflects your past, you can share your journey. I honor my transformation. And as these pieces begin to connect, a larger rhythm starts to emerge, one that reaches beyond individual moments and into something much more cyclical, something already in motion around you. Look at it from a distance for a moment, as if your life has been moving within a larger pattern, something that carries its own timing, its own rhythm, beyond what you could see while you were inside it. The moments that felt heavy, the pauses that stretched, the endings that arrived without clear explanation, they begin to align in a way that feels almost precise. There is a structure behind it. Saturn moves slowly, shaping through time, asking for patience, asking for depth, asking for accountability in ways that build from the inside out. You felt that weight in the seasons, where everything required more effort, more awareness, more restraint, as if life was asking you to grow roots before reaching further. Then there is Pluto, quieter on the surface, yet far more profound in its reach. This is where the deeper transformations took place, where parts of your identity shifted without needing external validation. You released layers, sometimes without language for what was changing, only a sense that something old could no longer stay. That process reshaped your inner foundation in ways that now begin to reveal themselves. And through it all, eclipses moved like thresholds, closing certain doors while opening others that you could not fully understand at the time. They marked transitions that felt sudden, yet in hindsight, they carried a kind of inevitability. Something had completed its course, and something else was already forming, just beyond your immediate awareness. When you place these cycles side by side, a different picture appears. It shows a progression, not random events. It shows timing, not delay. It shows preparation, not absence. And within that, you can begin to sense where you are now. There is a shift toward balance. The intensity that once felt constant begins to organize itself into something more stable, more intentional. Energy that was once pulled in multiple directions starts to settle, to align, to move with purpose rather than pressure. You may notice it in subtle ways. How things begin to respond differently, how certain paths open with less resistance, how your own decisions carry more clarity. It feels quieter, yet more certain. And as this new rhythm starts to take hold, something within you also adjusts. Your way of seeing, your way of choosing, your way of standing in your own energy begins to evolve into something steadier, something more defined. It shows up in small moments first. Someone says something that once would have pulled a reaction out of you instantly, and this time there is space, a pause, You feel everything just as deeply as before, yet it moves differently now. Slower, more contained, as if it passes through a deeper filter before it reaches the surface. You begin to notice this pattern repeating. Situations that once felt urgent now unfold with more clarity. Decisions that once came from intensity now come from a quieter place, one that observes before it responds. It feels unfamiliar at first, almost like a shift in identity, yet it carries a sense of grounding that grows stronger each time. There is also a subtle change in how you see yourself. You no longer measure your value through how much you give, how much you endure, or how deeply you invest in others. Instead, there is a recognition forming, steady, clear, and internal. You start to understand your worth as something that exists before any external validation, something that holds its shape regardless of who sees it. With that awareness, your choices begin to shift. You find yourself stepping back from what feels misaligned, not with resistance, but with quiet certainty. You become more selective, not out of distance, but out of respect for your own energy. What once held your attention easily now requires something deeper, something real, something that resonates with who you are becoming. And in that selectivity, there is strength. A kind of strength that does not need to announce itself, that does not rush to prove anything. It stays steady, grounded, present. It allows you to move through life with intention rather than reaction, with clarity rather than impulse. You may even notice how your energy feels different in your own body, more centered, more contained, less scattered, as if something within you has come into alignment, creating a sense of stability that supports every decision you make. This is where your power begins to take a new form, not as intensity alone, but as awareness. Something refined, something intentional, something deeply rooted in knowing who you are. And from this place, the way you connect with others, especially in matters of the heart, begins to shift in ways that feel both unfamiliar and deeply right. You can trace it back if you let yourself, the way love once moved through you, fast and consuming, like something that asked for everything all at once. You stepped in fully, instinctively, giving your presence, your loyalty, your depth without hesitation. It felt natural to merge, to hold tightly, to invest with your whole being. There were moments when that intensity created something powerful, something alive. And there were moments when it asked more from you than it returned, where you found yourself adjusting, giving more, reaching deeper, trying to sustain a connection that felt just slightly out of balance. The line between devotion and depletion blurred quietly over time. Now, something begins to shift. You still feel deeply. That part of you remains unchanged, still capable of profound connection, still open to the kind of love that transforms. But the way you enter it, that has evolved. There is a pause now, a sense of awareness that listens before it moves, that senses the emotional landscape before stepping fully inside. You start to notice what feels steady versus what feels unstable, what feels safe in your body versus what creates tension beneath the surface. And that awareness guides you, gently but clearly, toward a different kind of connection, one where you can remain fully yourself while still being close to someone else. This version of love feels quieter, yet deeper. It carries respect, mutual presence, a rhythm that allows both people to breathe within it. You no longer seek intensity for its own sake. You are drawn to alignment, to emotional safety, to a connection that restores rather than drains. And within that, something soft begins to form. A sense that love can be a place of regeneration, where your energy returns to you, where your depth is met rather than managed, where your presence is received with the same care you offer. Take a moment and feel what kind of love you are ready for now. I choose peaceful love, because as your heart settles into this new frequency, another layer of your life begins to respond, one that reflects how you value yourself in the material world and how that value shapes what flows toward you. You begin to see it in practical ways, almost unexpectedly. A situation where you would have said yes before now meets a pause, a quiet evaluation that runs deeper than surface logic. You ask yourself what something is truly worth, your time, your energy, your attention. And the answer comes with a clarity that feels steady rather than reactive. There is a growing awareness of how much you have carried in the past. Responsibilities that expanded without clear boundaries, efforts that stretched further than what was returned. Moments where your capability became something others relied on without question. You can see it now, not with frustration, but with understanding. And from that understanding, something shifts. You start choosing differently. Not abruptly, not dramatically, but with intention. You give where there is recognition, where there is alignment, where there is a sense of mutual value. Your energy begins to move in more defined directions, guided by a sense of self-respect that feels grounded and consistent. This is where your relationship with money begins to evolve as well. It becomes less about effort alone and more about alignment, how your skills, your presence, your time connect with what you receive in return. You notice that when you stand clearly in your worth, opportunities begin to meet you at that level. It feels more stable now, more controlled, yet not rigid. You make decisions with a wider view, considering sustainability, considering long-term impact, considering what truly supports the life you are building. There is a sense of ownership in how you move, a quiet confidence in what you accept and what you leave behind. And in that space, value becomes something you live, not something you chase. It reflects outward in the way others respond, in the way resources begin to flow, in the way your efforts hold weight. This shift carries into everything that follows, because once you recognize your value in tangible ways, the way you use your strength, your influence, your presence in the world begins to take on a deeper level of meaning. You can feel the difference now in how you move through situations that once required force. Where there used to be urgency, there is now direction. Where there used to be intensity without pause, there is now intention, clear, measured, and deeply rooted in awareness. Your strength has taken on a different shape. It no longer pushes outward in every moment. It gathers, centers, and then moves with purpose. You choose when to act, when to hold, when to step forward, and when to remain still. Each decision carries weight, not because it feels heavy, but because it is aligned. There is a quiet authority in that. You begin to notice how others respond to this energy, not through dominance or control, but through presence. The way you hold yourself creates space where things can stabilize, where people feel grounded, where direction becomes clearer simply because you are clear within yourself. This is where your role evolves. You become someone who builds from within, creating a foundation that lasts. Someone who leads without needing to announce it, who influences through depth rather than volume. Your awareness shapes the environment around you, guiding it in subtle yet lasting ways. And with that comes responsibility. Because when your energy holds this level of clarity, your choices ripple outward. They affect more than just your immediate path. They shape outcomes, relationships, and the spaces you step into. There is a sense of care that naturally follows, a recognition that power and awareness move together. This is the kind of strength that sustains, not explosive, not fleeting, but steady, capable of creating something that endures. Choose the version of yourself you are stepping into. I step into my power, 888. And as you stand more fully in this version of yourself, something else begins to unfold. An understanding that everything you have moved through has been guiding you toward this point, where your path opens with a different kind of clarity. There is a quiet moment when everything you have moved through begins to settle into place. Not as a clear answer, but as a feeling that lives deeper than explanation. You can sense it in the way your energy rests differently now, in the way your thoughts carry less urgency and more presence, as if something within you has finally found its own rhythm. What once felt like scattered pieces now forms a kind of inner landscape, one shaped by experience, by depth, by every unseen shift that happened along the way. The weight you carried has changed its form. It feels less like something you hold and more like something that has shaped you into who you are becoming. And in that becoming, there is a quiet readiness. You no longer reach for meaning in the same way. It rises from within you, steady and grounded, guiding your choices without needing to announce itself. The path ahead does not need to be fully visible. There is a sense of trust that moves with you, step by step, creating clarity as you go. Something in you, Scorpio, has softened and strengthened at the same time. You feel more at ease in your own depth, more at home in your own energy. The need to prove, to push, to measure yourself against anything outside of you begins to dissolve into something calmer, something that simply knows. And life responds to that. Not all at once, not in loud ways, but in subtle alignments. In the right timing, the right connections, the right openings that seem to meet you where you are, rather than pull you away from yourself. It feels different, more natural, more attuned, more reflective of the truth you now carry within. This is how a new cycle begins, not with force, but with alignment. Not with urgency, but with awareness. You step into it as someone who understands the value of your own energy, someone who chooses with intention, someone who allows life to meet you at the level you now embody. And as you move forward, there is a quiet invitation to stay connected to this version of yourself, to keep choosing from this place of clarity, to keep honoring the depth that has brought you here. If you feel aligned with this new path, anchor it with a simple intention. I trust my path and receive what aligns. 777. And if something in these words resonated with your journey, you can gently support this space by liking, sharing, or subscribing, so that this energy can continue to reach others who are walking through their own transformation, just like you. Because even as you continue forward, there is a sense that this journey is still unfolding, and you are walking it with a steadiness that carries both depth and quiet light.